going to go through the state of the Russo-Ukrainian war on this Sunday afternoon. And the news has been dominated by the Trump peace plan, peace proposal, and that has turned into a real fiasco, I would say. At this point, we have a series of points, 28 in total, with some other documents outlining in more depth exactly what all these terms supposedly mean. It is not written in a legally defined language. It looks like a series of different almost bullet points that have been put together that would be something been drafted up. However, Donald Trump has decided to own this peace proposal, or this proposal to at least freeze the war in Ukraine for a certain amount of time. He has said that Volodymyr Zelensky basically has until Thursday, Thanksgiving, to sign and agree to this proposal. Otherwise, the US will possibly cut off intelligence sharing and selling weapons to Ukraine. They don't really give any aid to Ukraine anymore since Donald Trump became president. So they sell weapons to Europe that are then passed on to Ukraine, and they do share intelligence. None of that costs US really any money, or at least any additional money. And I guess they make money out of the arms sales. However, there is not a clearly defined strategic goal from the US under the Trump administration, as opposed to the Biden administration, which had an undeclared goal, but we can deduce at this stage was for an impasse in the war, and they were successful in that. Donald Trump doesn't really seem to want to get more strategically out of this war than a deal of some sort. Doesn't seem particularly bothered about what that deal is. Looking at this 28-point plan, it is full of contradictions. I'm going to go into it in great detail on my main channel in a live stream in about 90 minutes. It'll be 3 p.m. local time. So we're normally 7 hours ahead of New York time. So I guess that will be 8 a.m. in New York in the morning. And I will go point by point in detail on that plan, so we can go into it then. But in grosso modo, for the purposes of our short discussion here on the Geopolitics channel, this plan is not getting signed by either side of the war, Ukraine or Russia. From Ukraine's point of view, just about almost every point is unacceptable, but the most egregious points that make it impossible for not just Volodymyr Zelensky to sign. First of all, he wouldn't have the authority to sign it. Actually have to go through the Ukrainian parliament for many of the points first, and any leader of Ukraine is not going to have the support of the public or the political elite to sign a deal that Ukraine gives up territory de jure. Even the word de jure is not mean, that means internationally, legally, as opposed to de facto. So in the proposal, Ukraine would give up Crimea, the Donbass regions, and they would actually withdraw from territory that they currently control, that is heavily fortified in the Donetsk Oblast, that Russia has been trying to capture since 2014 unsuccessfully, and that just makes it a non-starter. Interestingly, although Vladimir Putin said yesterday that it could be the basis, this proposal, for negotiating some sort of settlement, basically he has rejected it already. And that is very interesting to analyze. If you have a proposal that's heavily in his favor, why would he continue to not accept it? Just like with the ceasefire proposal, when basically Donald Trump bullied Volodymyr Zelensky into saying he would accept just a ceasefire, just down weapons, put them down, not fire at each other. Vladimir Putin still refused to do it, saying no, we need to go to a full peace agreement, and he has gotten his way because Donald Trump has decided to own this proposal to do that 6 months, 8 months down the road. So from Vladimir Putin's point of view, well, why not just, the Overton window has already moved more in his favor vis-a-vis the Trump administration. Why not just hold out and see if Donald Trump will not propose something even more against Ukraine's interests and in favor of Russia? Also, if Vladimir Putin cannot achieve the strategic aims of his invasion, which so far he has failed rather dramatically in doing, then he does not want to end the war because he may lose power. His number one priority is not winning the war. It is staying in power in Russia. That is his number one priority. The war in Ukraine is supposed to further that, but it is not his priority to win this war and achieve the strategic aims. They are only necessary for him if it furthers the probability of him staying in power. And if he ends the war, even on this very Russia-friendly proposal, on these terms, it's not clear to me that he would actually stay in power, because in that case, he would have to explain why they spent so much money, lost so many lives to achieve some goals, but not all of them, and he may still look like a failure, and especially if those soldiers come back to Russia afterwards and get demobilized, he may be in a position where it's very hard for him to stay on as president. So it probably is in his interest to keep this war going, or if he does pause it, have a complete victory, or have some sort of pause and invade somewhere else with those soldiers. So then he could achieve a bigger strategic aim, like undermining NATO, if he were able to, say, grab a small town in the Baltics and US, and that countries, that NATO members, allies were not able to deter him, number one, or remove those Russian troops that would be occupying there. So that's what I'll say in this short live stream. Long story short, this is never getting signed. It's not even the basis to have a negotiation. The threats from the Trump administration, once Donald Trump decided to own it, that Zelensky just needs to sign. I even saw a clip with Donald Trump. He also seems to be going to get on a helicopter when he does these little press pieces, because it's very hard to hear him all the time over the sound of the helicopter blades. But basically he said, yeah, if Zelensky doesn't, it's not, he seemed to say it wasn't even the final offer or proposal, and then say, well, if Zelensky doesn't like it, he can fight his little heart out. It's just basically condescending. There's no evidence from what Donald Trump has said since his proposal was broken to the media that he actually has any idea of any of the terms or what's inside or what any of the consequences are. So that is the state of play. It's not getting signed by the Ukrainian side. It's not even a basis really to negotiate in this current state of the Russo-Ukrainian war, where there's an impasse on the battlefield and neither side has won or lost definitively militarily. And also Vladimir Putin has an incentive not to sign it either. So it's not going anywhere. And to quote Donald Trump, it is basically a big nothing burger that has dominated the world's media for 3 days, conveniently taking the Epstein files and the fallout from that off our 24-hour news cycle, at least for a few days. So I will drop a link down below in the description here to the in-depth live stream I'm going to do on the main channel later on today. If you're interested in coming to Ukraine, I have my guide also for coming to Ukraine during the war. Go and grab that. It's got a hospitality guide for the main cities that people are going to go to that are far from the front lines, like Kyiv, Odessa, Lviv, Chernovtsi, and Uzhhorod, as well as lots of logistic and safety information. So on that note, drop your comments down below, and I will see you later on today on the main channel, where I go in depth and analyze the 28 points. До побачення, слава Україні, до перемоги.